Anime is filled with incredible warriors. From underdog boxers on the rise to literal gods fighting in a tournament for fun, the list is simply overwhelming. Each can possess special abilities, unique fighting styles, and weapons that complement them perfectly. But what if one could take these separate attributes and combine them for themselves? How powerful could they become? What feats would they be able to accomplish? In this series, I intend to answer just that. Let's build an unchecked warrior. Throughout this series, we've created some crazy OP characters. A swordsman that can strike down any enemy from any direction as fast as lightning with a sword that'll kill you with as little as a tiny scratch to the cheek. An ancient hand-to-hand master assassin with enough luck and the greatest pal on earth to crush any fool who thinks they can step up. A giant armor from head to toe with adaptable dragon armor and with hands that'll keep any puny fool from laying a finger on them. And of course the sharpest, most unpredictable black man to ever grace anyone's eyes. But never have we ever seen a warrior more worthy of being called, in any given anime, God himself. A being so untouchable, so mighty that even Madara Uchiha, Aizen, All For One, Father, or even Miriam himself would fall to their knees if approached by him. What kind of weapon could be wielded that could strike down any of these foes, no matter the circumstance? What fighting style could be mastered to make all others meaningless? And what ability, unique only to its user, would devastate any man, army, or nation that dared to challenge said user? Well, the path to create any all-powerful god is always full of miracles and leaps of faith. However, there must always be a plan.
I'm a hard-working honor student who's considered to be one of Japan's best and brightest. And I will become the god of this new world.
It's just as I thought. Humans are so interesting.
If you had the power to kill any mortal with just a name, a face, and a pen, what would you do? If you could bring the entire world to their knees and have them declare you not only the harbinger of justice, but God himself, would you do it? Because if you were suddenly gifted the supernatural weapon known as the Death Note, such possibilities would become as certain as the sun rising on a new day. From the anime Death Note, a Death Note is a supernatural notebook used by the Shinigami. These death gods kill humans using the Death Note in order to take whatever remaining years on Earth they may have and add it to their own lifespan. This means that Death Notes are not records of one's fate made long ago, but simply a ticket that these beings can stamp whenever they wish and whisk your soul right off to the afterlife. Death Notes can be used by humans as well, but their lives aren't increased in any way by whatever time their victims would have had left.
The notebook becomes part of the human realm from the very moment it touches the earth. In other words, the notebook is now yours.
This is mine?
If you don't want it, just give it to someone else.
Whether they be psychotic geniuses, corrupt businessmen, politicians, or gullible models, any human can use these superweapons without consequence. However, there are set rules that both must adhere to. Each rule generally revolves around the first and most famous rule, being that any human whose name is written in the Death Note will die. They let the user know the requirements and limits of the note for carrying out their desired death. For example, the user must know both first and last names of each victim, as well as their faces. This guarantees that no person with the same name as the intended target is accidentally killed. The user can set the conditions for how and when a victim will die, to the point where they can even control the victim's actions to fulfill the written cause of death. The conditions can be extended up to 23 days until they need to happen. However, if the conditions are not possible, the victim will simply die of a heart attack in 40 seconds. If only the victim's name is written down in no conditions, then again, they die from a heart attack in 40 seconds. Once the user understands every single rule set by the Death Note, he could basically kill anyone in the world at any time, in any way. With such a horrifying weapon in his hands, it's no wonder that Kira was regarded as a god in his world. But no matter how feared he became, in the end, Kira was still just flesh and blood, a mere mortal that could be downed by a bullet. If he truly wanted to be God, then he would have trained so hard that any enemy he faced, Death Note in hand or not, would fall to a single blow.
通のパンチ。
Once a person has become so good at something, they typically start to become apathetic to it. It becomes played out, boring. Where's the thrill in sticking with your hobbies when there's just nowhere for you to go in terms of a challenge? Such is the dilemma for Saitama in the anime One Punch Man, the man who's just a hero for fun and profit. Saitama's journey to the top began one fateful day when his job searching got interrupted by a kid with an ass for a chin and a giant crab in tidy whities. Forced to save a life for the first time, it lit a fire within his soul and gave him the motivation to pursue his true calling in life. And when he pursued it to its natural endpoint, he became so powerful that nothing could give him a real fight anymore. And the only way he could have reached this level of absolute strength was by following a strict, grueling training regime, one that would turn his normal human body into a vessel of limitless power.
腕立て伏せ100回、上体起こし100回、スクワット100回、そしてランニング10キロ、これを毎日やる。
Now, if anyone were to tell you that following that routine would make you strong enough to topple giants with a single punch, you'd probably call bullshit. However, the results speak for themselves. And with this power, Saitama was able to develop a simple yet unique fighting style, the One Punch style. If that sounds direct to you, that's because it is. There are two known series to this style whose attacks tend to beat their opponents with a single move. The first is the normal series. It consists of techniques that Saitama puts very little effort in when attacking. Normal punch is simply that, a straightforward punch strong enough to kill anything it hits. When facing humans, however, Saitama holds back greatly, only using enough strength to knock them out. Consecutive normal punches is when Saitama throws a quick flurry of punches designed to blow large, powerful opponents to pieces. His second is the Serious series, attacks that have far more effort and power behind them. Serious Punch is an extremely powerful punch, whose shockwaves alone has enough force to negate attacks capable of destroying a planet, or even displace the clouds on a global scale. Saitama also used this move to disintegrate Elder Centipede, a dragon-level threat and one of the biggest monsters in the series. Not every move in the Serious series is purely strength-based, however. Serious Side Hops is a move where Saitama creates hundreds of after images by rapidly hopping from side to side. He is even capable of walking forward while doing this, essentially creating an army of himself. This overwhelming show of speed was enough to defeat Speed of Sound Sonic, a character fast enough to make 10 after images. With this kind of godlike power, giving someone like Saitama the Death Note will be far beyond overkill. So what kind of ability would be enough to push this being into undeniable realm of godhood? Well, the thing about God is that his word is absolute and must always be obeyed.
無力が悪だというのなら、力は正義なのか、復讐は悪だろうか、友情は正義足りうるだろうか。ルルーシュビ・ブリタニアが命じる。貴様たちは死ぬ。
Nothing can be more painful for a child than to be abandoned by their parent. It can be especially painful if said child was abandoned in a country that parent had then decided to conquer, leaving very little if no sympathy to be felt by the locals. This unfortunate fate was thrust upon Lelouch v. Britannia and his younger sister in the anime Code Geass. Forced into hiding, Lelouch vowed that one day he would make the country which he was one day destined to rule pay. But with only his intellect, Lelouch could only do so much against the conquering superpower. That is until one day he met a girl who granted him a power that could bring anyone, royalty or lowly 11s, to obey his commands, a Geass.
ルルーシュビ・ブリタニアが命じる。貴様は死ね。よかろう。
A Geass is referred to as the power of kings, a supernatural ability that gives its users powers to manipulate various perceptions of others' minds. Will, thought, senses, or even memory become toys that a Geass user can twist to their satisfaction. A person acquires a Geass by making a contract with an immortal code-bearer who formerly possessed a Geass. The power of Geass increases with use, typically manifesting in the user's left eye until eventually appearing in both eyes. And each power granted by a Geass can differ depending on an individual's desires and personality. Lelouch's Geass manifests itself as the power of absolute obedience, which allows him to plant commands within a person's mind upon direct eye contact. Throughout the series, it grew so powerful that he can command C's world, the collective unconsciousness of mankind itself. Although he cannot command the same person twice, there is no set time limit, and if eye contact remains unbroken, he can dish out as many commands as he wishes. The man could literally dictate what you do for the rest of your life, and you'd be powerless to stop it. But while Lelouch needed this power and a rebel army of mechs and waifus to change the world, if he also had a death note and the power of the one punch style, he'd rule any world he chose. Picture any godlike character that you know of, from any anime. Got the one? Alright, good. Now imagine that fool falling to their knees and begging for forgiveness from this almighty menace that I've just created, because that's the only logical outcome that could possibly play out. If he knows your name, you're dead. If you look him in the eye, you're his dead slave. And if by only the extremely slim chance that he's too slow or too bored to write down your name, or tell you to just go kill yourself, he'll just one punch the shit out of you. Out of all the monsters I created, he is by far the one that stands above them all. He would make beings like the Omni Kings, yes, both Omni Kings, bow in pure fear. He would want 10 seconds to show off by beating the shit out of Gojo. The Soul King would wish to evolve to a greater being of existence just to challenge him. He is the indestructible, undeniable, unstoppable god of all anime. And he is, of course, unchecked. But what do you guys think? Is there any being in the realm of anime that could possibly make this monster kneel? How could I have made him any better? Let me know down in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm out.
語れない眠れないこの夢